So, Richard and I have partnered together this year because we're both very, very serious about how we engage teachers in developing a non-colonial, non-white supremacist practice. What does that mean in our classrooms? And we've been putting on a lot of programming. That handout that you have on the back, whichever side you have, you'll see a lot of programming that we have put forth this year to really engage educators around how do we center our Black and brown students in our practice. Anyone in here, this is your first time seeing the film tonight? Raise your hand. Oh my God! What were you doing for the last 15 days? Oh, all right, so let me see if my veterans. Anybody who's seen it twice? Okay. I know nobody has seen it as much as I have. 3 times. Okay. 4 times. 5 times. Oh, okay. I was like, sis, you will not beat me. No, you haven't. You ain't seen it 6 times, though.
I saw it 5.
Okay, so so shameless plug. I have a children's book called the ABCs of the Black Panther Party. The real Black Panthers in the 60s, the humans who were here and really worked, in my opinion, to build our own version of Wakanda. And since you've seen it 5 times, I'll give you this one for free. Since we had so many people who saw it for the first time, let's take a few minutes just in our little groups, especially for those people who saw it for the first time. What were you thinking? What were you feeling?
Lost. I'm from Dominican Republic.
Kathy, like, me too.
I was born in the Dominican Republic. I came to this country when I was 21, and we had this mix of, Spaniards and what I learned there, and then I went to Spain, and I said, oh my God, yeah, a lot of the things that we do in the Dominican Republic are just like that. So who am I? What is truly my heritage like?
How the sense of family throughout the movie took a toll on people, and that's what made us so emotional, because we don't have that now. It's that's my child, don't say nothing to my child. And when our parents were growing up, they grew up as the whole community raised up, and because of the difference in that, kids feel like as if they're raising themselves.
I feel like with what's going on right now in the world, as African Americans, we need to our pride needs to strengthen, and I think this was a great time to even have the film come out.
One quote in that movie that resonated with me, and it was so amazing to hear that one of my students also felt that quote, the power of that quote, and it's when they said, "I'd rather die by water than by bondage."
So can we reimagine a classroom that centers Afrofuturism and Pan-Africanism? What would that look like?
Years ago, I'm a metalworking teacher at Harbor School, I'm a welding teacher there. And this reminded me of a seminar I went to. There's a group of people, and there's several groups of people, but the one we focused on are the Mande people in West Africa, who are metalworkers. Their culture is metalworking. It's mining from the ground, smelting iron ore out of the rock, forging it into tools. We talk about casually in class, but I think now I'm going to really buckle down and we're going to really get
handles of it. It's amazing because everyone is there coming together in this futuristic model, but in such this indigenous way.
So let's just share out really quickly. When we look at the pedagogy, the practices, and the culture, what did we reimagine, or what could we have imagined?
I just wanted to think about the Wakanda curriculum in that sense, not just about being African roots, but about Black Americans now, and how a lot of times if they have a certain dialect, they have a certain slang that they're seen as not smart. They think that because you don't articulate in the same way that white people do, that you're uneducated, and that you don't think the same way, that you don't have the same ideas, that you can't do the same thing. And that they teach us Shakespeare as one of the masters of language and how his writing was so good, but what does that, it's like they don't speak about black writers, and I don't just mean like famous poets of like civil rights movement poets. I mean people that wrote from back then. We don't translate old scriptures because they destroyed all of them. Like what are we, like there's no culture taught in schools.
And remember what he said about Shakespeare, that Shakespeare spoke about the Moors and spoke about the Moors as kings and
Not as slaves.
and not as enslaved.
I'm teaching trigonometry right now, so I'm looking a little bit into the history of trigonometry and just thinking about like a movie, like the design of some of the buildings and even some of the spaceships, and how to like incorporate that into trigonometry and to get students energized for that.
A lot of kids, when they think about history and background, they think about just United States of America, the history that's happened there. And it's actually, this is like a very new country, and what's been affected here, it has to do mainly with things that have happened around the world. Like, we wouldn't have, like, nobody would be here if a lot of other things around the world didn't happen, right? So, where it says, like, debates about African kings and queens and colonialism, it's like people have to learn about those things before they learn about just this one place.
Let's give him a round of applause.
Listen, we appreciate you coming out. We appreciate you engaging. We'll be sending a follow-up email, and you can reach out to us. Thank you all so much.